So how do you feel about what's going on right now with Doge, what Elon is doing, Pentagon budget? How do you feel about all that stuff?
When Trump got elected and when Doge came into being, we were concerned that Doge might overlook the hugest source of waste in the federal budget, which happens to be in the Pentagon budget. These other little slivers are pretty much small potatoes. I mean, there was this big hubbub about USAID, but compared to the Pentagon, I think USAID is about 5% of the Pentagon budget. The Pentagon represents about half of the federal discretionary budget. So we wanted to make sure that Elon didn't ignore that. And so we started the Doge versus Blob.org campaign, which is kind of on X, and it is to encourage.
Is this it?
There it is.
Oh, wow.
It's the Doge, yeah.
And you did this? This is you guys?
This is us guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Sick.
This is me and Ed Erickson. So it's Doge. You know who Doge is, and there's the Blob, which is another name for the whole military-industrial complex, the Pentagon and the war profiteers. And as you can see, the Blob has invaded the Capitol. And if you scroll down, you can win Doge coins for coming up with these memes that refer to the various kinds of waste that are in the Pentagon budget. So there's the facts that slay. So here's the content, and the idea for the contest is to come up with a meme that talks about some of these ridiculous, wasteful.
So Pentagon spent
items.
$5,700 for a soap dispenser. You can snag at Amazon for $7. Air Force spent $10,000 for a toilet seat cover. Low sells for $28. Pentagon paid $4,300 for a single half-inch metal screw. The value is $1.38.
Yeah. Now that's the small potatoes. You get into nuclear weapons, and we exploded one nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. It killed 100,000 people instantly, and then another 100,000 eventually died from radiation poisoning and sickness. Huge number of people with burns all over their body, amputations, blindness, deafness. That was one nuclear bomb. And today, the arsenal in the U.S. is huge. As a matter of fact, I have a little demonstration.
Please.
Can I do this? I'm gonna show you the size of our nuclear arsenal.
What is that you got there? BB?
These are BBs, right. I'm going to toss them in this bucket. So here's one BB that represents, let me just move this over here so I can. Here's one BB that represents the bomb that blew up over Hiroshima. And now here's 15 BBs. That would be enough to blow up every major city in, say, Russia. And what I want to do now is show the amount of our total nuclear arsenal. So that's the equivalent of 50,000 Hiroshima bombs. That is the current explosive capacity of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Not only that, the country is now preparing to spend another $2 trillion on a whole new generation of nuclear weapons. Now that is sick. It's immoral, it's crazy, it's irrational, and it is a huge waste of money and lives. It's unbelievable, and it is just a indicator. It's a window into the general Pentagon war profiteer mentality that more is better. If one nuclear bomb is good, gobs more must be better. And what really slays me about it is the incredible waste of resources and the effect that it has on our spirits, our soul as a nation, that we're spending 50% of our discretionary budget on preparing to kill gobs of people. I mean, you know, the Vatican came out with this statement that the arms race, even if the weapons are never used, kills the poor by causing them to starve. Our Pentagon budget is $900 billion a year. You know, one of the reasons I got into this is because you talk about $1 billion, nobody has any conception of how much $1 billion is. And Ben & Jerry's got up to a level of around 300 million before it got sold. And I started to understand that, well, $1 billion is 3 times the business we were doing. And that amount of money is just unbelievable. And that's just 1 billion. You know how many years you'd have to live before you lived 1 billion seconds? Plug that into your machine and try. It's about 30. So that's how much 1 billion is, 30 years of seconds. And we take that much, and we take 900 billion, and we use that preparing to kill people like you and me, fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, sons, daughters, in other countries who just had the bad luck of being born on some other side of some imaginary line. I think the U.S. is the richest country in the history of the world. I think we need to start to measure our strength in terms of how many people we can care for, how much we can improve the quality of life for people, as opposed to killing people.
So, okay, that was a very interesting visual to see what we did versus what it is now. Absolutely insane. How much more do we have? So, but if we were to ask the question, I mean, this has been going on over a long time. Why do you think we've been doing it? Why do you think we are increasing our nuclear capabilities the way that we are? What's the purpose of it?
Profit.
You think it's purely the military-industrial complex?
I think a lot of it is driven by that. I think another part is driven by politicians who are deathly afraid of being called weak on defense. And, you know, a lot of this stuff is kind of complex. It's international relations. How do we know how many aircraft carriers we actually need, et cetera, et cetera. So what ends up happening is that military strength becomes measured in terms of the size of the Pentagon budget. And politicians try to outdo each other from both parties. This is like the one bipartisan area of agreement over the years. You know, the Democrat says, I'm going to spend X amount on the Pentagon. Well, the Republican says, well, I'll spend a little more. And then the Democrat says, well, I'll spend a little more. And therefore, they're the strongest on defense. You know, before this, I was doing a little prep work. I saw this quote by Eisenhower, Republican President Eisenhower, what was it, 4-star general, 5-star general, who said that a country can bankrupt itself in the vain effort to achieve absolute security. You can't achieve absolute security, but continuing to spend our money. I mean, when you think about how much the size of the deficit, so much of that is driven by Pentagon expenditures, war expenditures. I mean, you know, the major thing that kind of brought me here is Trump's statement that he wants to denuclearize. He wants to work with the leaders of Russia and I think now Iran and China to reduce nuclear weapons, and that he wants to reduce our Pentagon budget very significantly. I mean, he said 50%. I mean, that makes so much sense. I mean, all these countries, they want to help the people who live in their countries, and when you're spending so much of your money on just preparing to kill other people, and the weapons are so fucking expensive, you should excuse me, it just saps everything you've got. It saps your wealth.
We're on the same page here. So you're not saying anything that we are fully on the same page. The fact that we are overspending, the level of Pentagon accountability. Rob, if you can play one of the clips of the guy saying $90,000 for washers just to validate his point, go for it.
This, Mr. Secretary, is a bag of bushings. This bag of bushings, stamped out by machinists, they need a high school diploma. It's not anything high tech about this. All of this bag is compliant with the FAA specifications. How much do you think the Air Force pays for this bag of bushings?
I don't know, Congressman.
$90,000. This is a $90,000 bag of bushings that you need for any jet turbine engine just to operate. So the exorbitant cost due to DoD only buying commercial parts from the OEMs, which is essentially sole source, is literally driving us out of business. I mean, the interest on our debt alone is now exceeding, for the first time in American history, the entire defense budget. We can't afford it anymore.
Exactly right. And, you know, the example that he gave of those washers is really excellent because we all know what a washer costs. Mm-hmm. But then when you get into things like the F-35 program, a fighter bomber jet that is hugely flawed, you know, it's a little more complex to understand it, but it's the same pricing. It's the same overly inflated prices. You know, that fighter program, that weapon system costs $1.5 trillion. And it doesn't work. I mean, it's in the shop over 50% of the time. But what you have going on, the corruption in the Pentagon, is that the generals that are supervising these contracts with the weapons manufacturers, when they retire, they go to work for the weapons manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And you know, they're incentivized to look the other way at all this price gouging.
Okay, so then what this tells me is you're agreeing what the president is trying to do, Trump, to save from wasted expenditure. You like what Musk is doing. You like what he's doing to go to the table with Putin and Russia and, hey, find ways to lower everybody's commitment with nuclear weapons. That's you're talking about. So you're liking what President Trump is doing.
In terms of the Pentagon budget and in terms of nuclear weapons and in terms of the idea of solving our problems in ways other than killing huge numbers of people. I mean, Trump has said, I want to be clear, that there's a shitload of things that I disagree with Trump on, but there are some things that I do agree with him on. And he has said that if he were president, there never would have been a war in Ukraine. And
do you agree with him?
I do. I think that the war in Ukraine was absurd. Mm-hmm. I think the U.S. provoked it, and by expanding NATO, and I think Russia was essentially saying, you know, the U.S. has a sphere of influence. It happens to be the entire world. Russia wants a little sphere of influence. You know, don't put weapons aimed at us in this neighboring country.
Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. You like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PBD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.